Good morning, folks. It is a beautiful, crisp, clear November morning out here, and I'm in my Pennsylvania backyard and coming up with a piece of content for the blog. Excuse the lid of a hat here. I'm not much of a lid guy, I'm more of a regular hat guy. But I got this given to me, and it fits nice, so I'm trying it out. We'll see. But what I want to talk about today is what is the point of software for a landscape business? You might be a new business owner watching other people talk about software and wondering, like, what would I use it for? How does it help me? Like, if I spend a couple $100 a month on a software, how does it turn into me making more money? Or having an easier life for that matter. So I just want to kind of break down. I was in the industry for 15 years, worked as an employee. Well, I was in the industry all my life, and I worked as an employee for Tussie Landscaping for 15 years, where I started as a laborer, worked my way up as a crew leader, and eventually into marketing and all of that, and eventually into SyncTech, where we built a solution because our needs weren't being met at a company like that. So I just want to kind of shoot from the hip here, and share with you what I think are four key main points to what's the point of software for a landscape company. Now, this is not by any means exhaustive. If it was exhaustive, it would take all day to talk. So I boiled it down to four key points that I see as a reoccurring thing that come up over and over again. So what those points are, the point to before I go into the 4 points, let me just kind of give you this teaser. The point of software is to make it possible for you to own a business instead of the business owning you. That is really what these 4 points I'm going to share really boil down to. So the 4 points I have is, one, to know your numbers. That is a key one. Next is to streamline your workflows and your operations. And then third is to get info out of the owner's head and into a system and process that gives your team autonomy. And then fourthly, just the ability to know when you're going right and when you're going wrong. If you don't know when you're going right and when you're wrong, like how are you supposed to make good decisions? How are you supposed to respond to things? So I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit there, but I'm gonna dig into each of those 4 points. But the whole know your numbers thing is in the first point. It's it's a huge topic. I did an entire course based on this topic on the hardscaper.com website, so you're welcome to go check that out. I'll leave the link to this in the video description. But the whole point of knowing your numbers is to make sure that you are charging what you need to charge to be profitable. And it's not only just knowing what you need to charge, it's also knowing that you're estimating correctly, like the correct amount of hours and all of that stuff. Because like you can do all the work of knowing your numbers and knowing what you need to mark up your costs and still get the price wrong by not having the proper quantity of hours or time allocated to the job. So knowing your numbers, a couple simple ways to point out what it means is it's to know exactly where your break even is on every single job. So that when you're negotiating with a customer, you don't self-sabotage yourself and then Mrs. Jones is like, oh, I only have 20 grand and your bid came in at 23 and you're like, well, I desperately need the work, so yeah, sure, I'll do it at 20 grand. Not knowing that your break even was maybe 20,500 and now you're going to lose money doing the job. You'd have been better off walking away. Or what I like to say, negotiate on scope, not on price, meaning I'll make the patio smaller to meet your $20,000 budget, but I'm not going to knock my price off. So that's one way, is knowing exactly where your break even is, or knowing exactly what your man hour rate should be, getting away from square foot pricing and to like actual tying your pricing to the labor and materials that are being used and with your markups that you need to use to cover your overhead costs, your equipment, your office admin, your insurance, your payroll, all of that stuff. You can using market-based pricing, mean like going in the Facebook group and seeing what your competition is charging or whatever. Like that is sketchy, risky stuff, because two companies, a truck and a mature company with a fleet of equipment, could both bid the same job, exact same job, and have two very different prices, and that's okay. The point is you need to know your numbers so you know what you need to charge. And what that means is you'll know exactly what your overhead rate markup needs to be. You'll know exactly what your man hour price needs to be. You'll know exactly what your break even is going to be on every single job that you ever quote. So I'm looking at my notes here. Next one I have is streamlining workflows and operations. This is where most software products on the market focus on, meaning like the Jobbers, the House Call Pro, like all these Yard Books, like all these softwares out there, they live in this land of I'm just going to help you be more digital, more professional, get off of paper, have an app to kind of look up a schedule. All super valuable stuff, really effective stuff. But then you kind of have to have your stack of spreadsheets along the side of those softwares to know your numbers. And at Synced Up, I'm going on a tangent here. At Synced Up, we marry those two worlds, and so that you don't need to have a software plus a stack of spreadsheets. It's all in one system where you're both streamlining your workflows and operations and knowing your numbers. And a couple symptoms that might be signs that you could benefit from some additional streamlining of your workflows and operations is if you have crews coming back to the shop to pick up equipment or materials that they didn't realize they need. That's a definite sign that somebody didn't have the information that they needed to work efficiently. And if you're spending hours plugging stuff into spreadsheets or spending hours on invoicing or not getting invoicing done on time, or you kind of have a culture of persistent phone tag in your team where crew leaders are constantly calling you, hey, how many yards of mulch do I need? Or what paper do we get in here? Or, hey, what's the address of that job again? Like if your phone is constantly going off with that type of question, I mean, you could benefit tremendously from a software that would help you streamline your workflows and operations. And most any software out there in the market speaks to this need. That's, there's like Jobber, for instance, that's all they do. They don't have any know your numbers aspect to their system. All they do is help you streamline and get off of paper and be more, in touch and have a good system and process for your quotes and schedule and all of that. So just this point alone can generate a good ROI for you in your company looking at using a software. But you start stacking this, like the benefit of getting additional streamlined processes and workflows and knowing your numbers. Like you start stacking these on top of each other. I mean, you can generate a massive ROI. I legit have some Synced Up customers that have gone from barely breaking even to literally making six figures in net profit. Like doubling their growth and doubling their net profit percentage, not net profit, because they doubled the growth. Maybe let's say last year they sold 500,000 at 10% net, which gave them 50 grand in net profit. Now they did $1 million this year, doubled the growth. And I'm not saying that they only doubled the growth and now got 100,000 net profit. I'm saying no, they doubled the growth and their net profit, meaning they're selling $1 million and now it's 20% net profit instead of 10. So anyway, that was a little tangent there, but you start stacking these things on top of each other, you can literally get to a point where you're having a 10x or a 20x even return on the cost of the software and the effect it has on your business. But anyway, that was a tangent. That was on my notes here. So thirdly, getting information out of the owner's head. This is huge. This is the ceiling that every entrepreneur runs into, myself included, but if you run your company in a way that every problem gets solved through you, every employee has to call you to solve the current day hot button issue, every customer complaint comes to you, every little issue, scheduling, snafu, whatever, you are the one that has to solve it, you are going to run into a ceiling. You're going to run into a point where you as a human being literally cannot do more things, and because you cannot do more things, there's two things that happens. Either the company completely stops growing and you're at your ceiling, or you invest into people around you, systems and process, so that people can be empowered around you and they can start making decisions that you don't need to be involved in, and then the company continue to grow. Meaning you are the bottleneck. The company will only grow as far as you let it. If you have a tight-fisted, clenched grip on every little thing in your company and you refuse to let it go and let other people around you on your team take responsibility and give them the power to make decisions, it's your loss, really. The company is going to stop growing at whatever ceiling you can operate. And I've seen companies that are kind of at their ceiling when the owner's at 500, when the company's at 500K in revenue, and I've seen owners that are just incredible doers and get up at 4 a.m. and go to bed at midnight that maybe make it to 2 million before they're completely at their like they've got to invest in systems and processes so that the company can continue to grow. And that's the world you live in when the business owns you and you don't own the business. So That's another huge thing. Another, like, the whole point of software is to be able to have a business that you own and not a business that owns you. And that means that you are building systems and processes that empower the team around you to make decisions, and you can leave, go on vacation, and the business continues to run without you. That's the beauty of having a system where you're pulling information out of your head and into it. And what that looks like, you might be wondering, what does that? What do you mean? What does that look like? Well, just one quick little example. I don't want to make this video too long, but one quick little example is if you build a template with production rates that a new sales member, a new salesperson in your team can use, so that you don't have to build every estimate. You pull the information out of your head, put it into a template and a production rate, so that somebody that can run a tape measure can build an accurate estimate for you and your company. Bam! You've just unlocked the ability for someone else to sell jobs for you accurately. And it's not every single estimate has to run through you. So if every estimate's running through you, that's where I would focus on next, just as an example. The catch here is building systems and processes is really hard work. You're already stressed. You're already working 12 to 14 hours a day. How on earth are you supposed to build systems and processes yet on top of that? And this is where software comes in. This is why I made this a point in this video, is because software is like pulling pre-built systems and processes out of a box and just deploying it across your company. A lot of the hard work is done for you, and a lot of the trial and error, trial by fire, school of hard knocks is already, that's already happened for these people that built the software, and you can benefit from that years of experience and broader industry knowledge, and just trust the process and deploy it across your company. Now, that being said, it still takes decisive leadership to deploy a system and process. It's always easier to always continue doing what you've always done, even if that system's broken. So it takes the effort of building new habits and good, strong leadership to deploy even a well-done, pre-built system and process across your company. You're going to be tempted to go fall back into your old habits, and you have to resist that temptation. So, last one, just knowing where you're going right and when you're going wrong. So, as a business owner, you've got to be able to make good decisions in real time, so you don't run into a situation where you have a cash flow problem or whatever that is. And if you're depending on your accountant to tell you this, not good enough. Sorry, it's not going to work. Unless you literally have an accountant that's looking over your shoulder for everything you do. For example, fuel prices doubled this year. If you have an accountant that gives you a report at the end of every year and says, hey, you made money or didn't make money, or you need to make your prices higher or whatever, it's way too late. You've doubled the money you spent on fuel, and guess where that money is coming out of? This is just an example. There's hundreds of examples that could play into this, but this is just one example. Guess where that extra fuel money is coming out of? Your net profit. It's coming out of your pocket. And so you need a system where you can, in real time, respond and adapt to challenges that come off of real life business, and be able to make good decisions, know when you're going right, and celebrate that with your crew. That's really important. Everybody needs that feeling of reward, as well as knowing when you're going wrong, so you can adapt and adjust your budget so that you are covering the additional fuel expense, and so that the next quote you send out the door is the right price based on the current day situation. So, and this all kind of sums up again, when you have these four things addressing your company, it's a beautiful thing. And I was a massive beneficiary of this as an employee of Tusky Landscaping, just working in a company that believed in these principles and put them into practice, which ultimately gave birth to Synced Up, right? But it's a beautiful thing when a company is running underneath these principles. Crews are motivated, they know what they need to do, people have autonomy, they can make decisions, the owner can leave, and ultimately the owner owns the business and not the business owns them. And I wasn't even the owner of Tusky Landscaping, but as an employee, to me, it felt good to see that the owner could leave and we were entrusted and we could run the business for them in their absence. Like, you might think that you as the owner are the only one that cares about that, but I can speak, like, as an employee, that felt good. To know that we had a stable, solid foundation, and that, we were a solid business. So, those are my thoughts. Those are the four things that I came up with as to what's the whole point of having a software in your landscape business. So know your numbers, streamline workflows and operations, get out of the owner's head, get information out of the owner's head and into systems and processes, and know when you're going right and know when you're going wrong. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, what you think. If you have any, if you disagree with anything I said, or if you have anything to kind of add on to anything I said, like again, could be an all day conversation, so I'm trying to keep this video not too crazy long. But I'd love to catch up with you all in the comments and keep the discussion rolling. So thanks for making it this far to the video. And if you like this kind of content, thumbs up the video, subscribe. I am endeavoring to do these one a week, although that could be a challenge with the upcoming winter travel schedule I have. That is my goal. So keep me to it. All right. Cheers, guys. See you next time.